So the recent Russian invasion of Georgia is another attempt by Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin to rebuild the old Russian Empire. This campaign of Putin, of course, can be seen from the very beginning of his rule. One of the great tragedies of the world following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 was that when Boris Yeltsin became president of the Russian Federation, while Boris Yeltsin was a true Democrat, sadly the man also had a severe drinking problem, which affected his ability to make the critical decisions that were needed during Russia's transition from a totalitarian state to becoming a free market democracy. And sadly, this did not happen. Russian mafia, Russian gangs, various powerful oligarchs were forming, and the common Russian people were being rapidly left behind. Boris Yeltsin realized that Russia required a strong leader, which of course it did, but the problem is that Russia needed a strong leader who is also a Democrat. Sadly, however, Boris Yeltsin, back in August 1999, named as his Prime Minister Vladimir Putin, a former KGB operative, and who was also briefly the head of the Russian FSB during the mid-1990s. The Russian FSB, of course, were the successors to the Soviet KGB. And on December 31st, 1999, Boris Yeltsin resigned. Vladimir Putin became acting president. He was finally elected president in the spring of 2000 and served as president up until last year, where Vladimir Putin named a puppet, Dmitry Medvedev, as his successor. And once Dmitry Medvedev was elected president of Russia, he quickly turned around and named Vladimir Putin his prime minister. Vladimir Putin has also become the prime minister of Belarus, named so by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. And so, in effect, we have a union of Russia and Belarus with Vladimir Putin as the Prime Minister of the Union. Of course, Georgia has gone its independent ways under Mikhail Saakashvili, who led the Rose Revolution in Georgia some years ago. And of course, so Georgia had to be subject to armed invasion and armed intervention. Probably the next former Soviet state within Vladimir Putin's sight is probably the country of Ukraine, ruled by Viktor Yushchenko, who was elected president of Ukraine in the Orange Revolution of 2004. Last Friday, Viktor Yushchenko asked that the leasing of the Russian Black Sea Fleet at Sevastopol in Ukraine be renegotiated, because Yushchenko, after he saw what Russia was doing in Georgia, isn't really thrilled about the prospects of having a Russian military on Ukrainian soil, and quite wisely so. Other countries that could be within Putin's sight are any of the three Baltic republics, Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. Another country that will probably be within Putin's sight is the country of Moldova, because once he controls Moldova, he'll pretty well control all the areas where the Caspian Sea pipelines cross over into Western Europe. And who's to say that Putin won't look at other Eastern European countries who are not part of the Soviet Union countries, such as Poland and Romania. Poland he might be reluctant to move into, as Poland is now a strong member of the European Union. Romania he might think about snatching, because Romania is still having a difficult time in making that full transition to market democracy, which of course is something that Poland has been able to achieve. And one of the interesting things about Poland is that in announcing its missile shield program with the United States and NATO, it said the only people who object vigorously to a missile defense shield for Poland are evil people. This, of course, probably explains why Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin is objecting so strenuously to it.